can advise him the route he should.
Welcome back, and many thanks for staying with us right here on the #1 breakfast show in the country, morning at NTV. Have you grabbed yourself a cup of Inspire Africa coffee? If you haven't resuscitated your body's creative processes, even if you are actually having your eyes wide open, meaning you are still in deep slumber as far as creative processes are concerned. Now, to resuscitate the same, grab yourself a cup of Inspire Africa coffee. You will not be actually grappling when it comes to creating very good ventures in that regard. Wonderful. Also, your lesson will be offering a platform through which learners can study even in the absence of their parents. Even if the father is not there, the mother is not there, you can continue with your learning using that app. The U-Lesson app. You only need your internet to be able to maximize on those efforts that are being geared towards continued learning. My name is Romy Busiku, and of course, this is Morning at NTV. Our technical conversation is largely focusing on conserving the environment. Activists oppose a proposed dam on River Kyambura. Well, President Museveni is saying we need to strike a balance between renewable energy and also ensuring extension of electricity and other forms of energy to Ugandans and other Africans in this regard. The president says we cannot only focus on renewable energy. We need to exploit natural gas to get synthetic fertilizer because, yes, we need it as Africa. We are still on the verge of development. We cannot only bank on renewable energy. That's according to the president. He did author a report, and it was actually in the Daily Monitor. You can go and read it. But I do have a conservationist in my midst. That is Boniface. Boniface, and he wants to talk about this issue. On September 15th this year, an alarming notification was published in the local newspaper, that is the Daily Monitor, whereby the Electricity Regulatory Authority notified the public that they have received a notice of intended application for a license from Rubirizi Energy EP, Uganda Limited, for the generation and sale of electricity on River Kyambura. Boniface Byamukama is here. He is the Vice President of Uganda Hotel Owners Association. All right, Boniface Byamukama, thank you for joining us. All right, let's start with the elephant in the room, Boniface. Do we need another hydroelectric power dam? Now get this, we are already producing more than 645 megawatts of electricity in this country. We are only consuming 300. So why are we even coming up with a proposal for another hydroelectric power dam? Do we need it?
It is a laughable subject.
Yes.
First of all and foremost, of course, every Ugandan needs power, and we have to get the power from the resources we have. And I want to make it clear that I'm not against power. What I'm against, or what we are against, is about the construction of a dam in a national park. And this should be clear that we have other sources or other rivers which are not directly impacting on ecosystems of the park where we can get power. As simple as that. Yeah.
Well, the president says renewable energy is not sustainable. Even if we are to bank on solar, it's not sustainable. Even if we are to bank on wind energy, it's not sustainable. We'd have to go a long way in exploiting hydroelectric power to ensure connectivity for the people within the rural areas and so forth. He says the white people are touting green energy and renewables, but they are simply transitioning from something that was callous to something that is going to be producing low carbon emissions. But he says you cannot move from a low energy Africa, a low, like the continent is already grappling with low concentration of energy. So how are you going to move from low to green energy? So you're not making a transition anyhow. He says we still need natural gas exploitation and so forth. What do you make of all this?
Yeah, it's true, and I think the president might be misguided on the subject matter, and I want to beg the technocrats to do some research about the energy. And also, I don't agree also in solar, because it has other side effects, because the batteries you use, the panels,
lithium,
the ambience where this plant of solar is, it doesn't look nice at the end of the day. But there is a new innovation where you don't need solar panels, but you can generate power. But that is a discussion for another day. But what we are talking about here is that Kyambura Gorge is an underground forest, and this is the only forest we have in Uganda, if not in the whole of Africa, where we have chimpanzees living underground in the rainforest. And on that, Queen Elizabeth National Park, where Kyambura is already gazetted national park. So why don't we use other sources or other rivers which are not in the gazetted national park, and also protecting the ecosystem. As you may be aware, Queen Elizabeth and Kyambura in question was created during the creation of the Western Rift Valley.
Indeed.
Now, Kyambura Gorge is like a basin. Now, guess what? You pour water in the basin, which they are proposing to have the dam there. When you pour water in the basin, it has to come out. Now, the banks of the Kyambura Gorge are volcanic. And when this water goes in, which means that the walls
will soften and break.
Will soften and break.
Leading to flooding of the neighboring communities.
Yes, and even some villages will be taken away.
The vice chairperson of the Uganda Hotel Owners Association, he is in my midst to talk about this new venture to actually put another hydroelectric power dam on River Kyambura. What will be the detrimental effects that would come out of that venture, because this is a very, very great area, special area for conservation. So what would culminate out of that venture? We'll be right back with this conversation and a lot more on conservation. We'll be right back. Well, President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni says we need to strike a balance between the use of renewable energy and also conventional methods of producing energy. He says Africa produces the lowest carbon emissions and so forth. And he says when it comes to whatever is happening at COP26, October 31st and November 12th, whatever they birth as measures to mitigate the effects of climate change, they should go a long way in not affecting Africa in that regard when it comes to production of energy, because we need electricity to drive development within the rural areas and the urban centers. Without electricity, there will be no development within the respective areas. But then it will, at what cost shall this be achieved? We're talking about River Kyambura and the creation of a hydro power dam project on this river. What are some of the detrimental effects that might come about? Well, Boniface Byamukama, President Museveni says they can come up with improved hydro technologies whereby turbines are put on River Kyambura, whereby fish is also protected in the midst of this hydropower dam being put on this river. He says the ecosystem shall be protected. The fish can pass through the turbines unaffected. We can actually still draw electricity while protecting the ecosystem. Do you buy into this notion?
No. I don't, because
yes.
You know, as I said earlier, the president is misguided on the topic. First of all and foremost, Uganda has been there for centuries. Did we ever hear about Bududa? It happened of recent. Now, the new technology that the president is talking about is that it is the moment you start even digging or putting a pillar, already you are disturbing the ecosystem. And
first, help me understand the analogy with Bududa. I didn't get that.
Now, Bududa was there and the people were living in harmony. Now, what happened was that people went up on Mount Elgon and started digging, uprooting trees, and now what happened? The whole village was covered. Now, here what we are saying in Kyambura.
Without contour plowing and trees?
Yes. Everything collapses inside. So this is what we shall see in our national heritage, Kyambura, which is a unique place where the chimpanzees live underground in the rainforest. Now, when you are talking about that the new technology will manage the ecosystem, I don't agree. Because by the time you are constructing, you have already disturbed the ecosystem.
Indeed.
First of all and foremost, the chimps are very clever, like us. They are 98.7 DNA to a human being. So they will never, never again appear in that place where you have put it down.
Boniface, you have industrialists who say a new hydropower dam will actually ensure propelling of development within Western Uganda. What are some of the compelling arguments you can come up with as conservationists to actually come against or insist against industrial development?
I can tell you that even what was developed in Bujagali power, not 100% is evacuated for the consumption. So what I would advise is the electricity industry should evacuate the power that we have generated in all these dams so far. You don't need to tamper with any other site. Because
645 megawatts are not being maximized, only half of it is being used. First, make sure that we utilize all the megawatts that we have currently.
Transmit, evacuate the power from the source to release people. And I want to make it clear that I'm not against people from getting power, but let the government take power to release it.
Okay,
we have more than enough.
Indeed, as a honorary wildlife officer, if you had the opportunity to convince President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, he's watching Morning at NTV, about the fact that we do not need this project, what would it be?
I would center my argument on the ecosystem. And even yesterday himself said people must evacuate wetlands. They must evacuate the forest reserves, and the period, he said it himself. So here we are saying, this is already a conserved national park. So, and we have this treasure, the chimpanzees, which have got a right of living. Don't say that you trash them because they don't speak.
Boniface Byamukama, he is the vice chairperson of the Uganda Hotel Owners Association. He's also a honorary wildlife officer working with Uganda Wildlife Authority.
This title was given to me because of my excellence work in conservation.
Thank you very much.
I don't work with Uganda Wildlife Authority.
Whom do you work with?
I am a private person, and I'm a tour operator, and I've invested in tourism.
All right, we shall be seeking your services on this subject if government is adamant not to go adamant not to go ahead with this project on River Kyambura. Thank you very much for coming through.
You're welcome.
And of course, Stephen Mbida is on our streets talking about the leadership wrangles in Owino Market, and he's joining me once again. A very